Alright, this is going to be saving and loading number 3. I decided to do a video now rather than doing a little bit more work because I feel like enough has changed that this is important enough to make a new video, a little update. So a couple of smaller things. I compressed the scripts a little bit more, removing some things. This is the game control script. It now has game name, and scene controller attached to it, all as static variables. And so it's still in the game because I still have this adjust pause function, but I might even remove that into a static function as well, but that'll be later. So now instead of having the game name saved on various scripts, it's all just right here, same with scene name and scene controller. So this script has gotten changed with game control dot scene name and etc. So it's a lot less cluttered. A lot of the scripts actually got quite small, a lot smaller because I was able to do that. And but that's not what the focus is on today. Today I actually add a new class called Game. I didn't realize that you could do this, but you can actually nest classes inside each other. So the class Game has variables for my 4 characters. In each one is of the class character data, which right now is down here, and it has stuff for all their name, class name, level experience, all the junk you might expect in an RPG. Also, thumbnail position is which spot on the screen. On the bottom of the screen, there's going to be 4 thumbnails, little like headshots of each character, and that can be reordered so that will keep their position as well. And then there's going to be 1 variable for each scene as of now with scene data. That way I'm pretty much able to set up this character creation scene. It's not currently linked to the main menu, but it's basically a proof of concept for myself. So on this character creation script here, I have a variable game of type of the class game. And so under that script, I've got this class here, game, the game data, the scene name. This is going to start as a default to test scene 1. That'll be the first scene, and the time, and these health and experience I'm going to delete at some point. But and the time, and that's the standard game data. Then you have the data for each character. This is going to be the defaults that users will be able to change: default name, default class name, etc. And then the information for each scene, which will be the default start position. So this was basically something that I can now save and load just this one class and repopulate all my data based on this one single class, which is pretty exciting. There's other variables I have here. These are all just links to the various UI options, so you can ignore those unless you want to get into the UI and how I did the UI, which I think is a little easier to understand, so I won't go over it. So what this scene does is it allows me, I've got this test save and test load button. I can change all the data here and update all that, and if I go into my character creation, if we go into game and character 1, you can see here it's a cleric, now it's a barbarian, and that's up here. All this information will change. So when I press the start your journey button, I simply have to save this and load the next scene, which is going to be the test scene 1. And at the beginning of that, since the character object has not been populated, I'll just simply load this data and populate it, and the game will be working perfectly. So to test this out, I do have this test save button, and then we can change the data again. I'll just change a whole bunch in this, and then if we click load, it snaps back. So the code here is pretty simple. Test save just says save control save game. Test load says load game. Now save game, I'm going to pass along this variable game of the game class, and in loading it, I'm going to apply the data that I get from load game to the game class, and then update my UI. In save control, I have these 2 quite small functions for the save and load. They're much smaller than my other ones, which will end up going away as well. The save function it passes along game data, which is the game, and it simply serializes into this file game data, and saves it, closes it, and that's it. Now the load game function will return a value of the game class, and that's going to be game data. So after I read the file, after I first make sure the file exists, I open the file, assign the data deserialized as game into the game data variable, and return that. Game character creation, the character creation script simply applies it to the game variable and updates the UI. So now even if I go back and press load again, it will load the last data we saved. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is a great method of saving stuff. What I need to work on next is expanding this whole thing to include maybe a dictionary and a method to serialize the dictionary, so I can save much more ambiguous information, such as enemies, their positions, their states, and all that. So when a user saves the game in the middle of a big battle, everything is exactly where they left off when they load it, including the states of the enemies, the states of any particles that have been flying through the air, and all that. So that's a little bit more of a challenge, which is why I want to make this video now. I think this is a great step forward, and the ability to save the nested classes is going to make life a lot easier. So there you go. I hope this is helping you out.